Hello and welcome to another video. So what happened recently is that I finally, slowly but surely, stepped through the 500 subscriber count on YouTube, but I am still way below 100 followers on Library, but at least I am over the 1000 views there. So join me on these channels if you haven't done so, and if you stick around to the end of this video, I will be talking about this important milestone in the channel's life, and I will also talk about the next milestone that will be coming. So, but before we go into that, let's talk about today's topic, which is what is freedom in free and open source software, and what is exactly my philosophy on free software. And so why I wanted to make this video is because I have some recent experiences that forced me to think about my free software philosophy a bit, and this is that I kind of started, or rather I should just say I joined the Open Suspect project, which is a free and open source game development project that just started a little more than 1 week, 2 weeks ago. And I'm participating in the leadership of this open source project. So I had the chance to talk about a few people who have been in the free software space for quite longer than I have been, because previously I just listened to other people discussing the topic either on YouTube or Library or other platforms. And now I have the chance to talk about people who actually have their own take on it, moving in the space, and well, have their experience with free software and how it relates to their lives, and whether I could have some discussion on whether the ideology of free software and pragmatism are they kind of opposite, in the opposite direction. So is it pragmatic to use sometimes a proprietary software even though ideologically we don't like it, and is refraining using proprietary software silly? So there were some kind of jokes. Some people in development want to use certain proprietary programs, and well, I don't really want that, and so am I silly to kind of trying to refrain from using that? That was another thing that came up. And so this kind of made me think about how I view the open source philosophy. And the first thing that came up in this kind of discussion was what I would consider as like the freedom versus permissiveness aspect, which is that comes up usually when we talk about free software licenses, especially the GPL and other licenses like the MIT license or I don't know, like the Apache license. Maybe I'm not 100% sure what's in that one, but basically, I was a big advocate, and I'm still a big advocate for the GPL license, because that license guarantees the user all the freedoms that are defined by the Free Software Foundation as like the foundational computing freedoms, and it also enforces these kind of freedoms on the people who take the code and republish it. So under GPL, you can basically modify the code to fit your own purposes, and you can republish that code. The only limitation you have is that you have to republish the modified version of any GPL license program under GPL. So there are, of course, some kind of exceptions if we are, but I don't really want to go into those things, but in general, that is how GPL works, while there are some more permissive licenses which give you all the freedoms that were defined by the Free Software Foundation. So you have the freedom to study what the program does and modify it, and basically republish the modified version, but you can change the license. You can even change the license to a proprietary one. And so some people would say that this kind of licensing actually gives more freedom to the user than the GPL, but I would argue otherwise. So permissiveness is not exactly freedom. So if we live in a society where people are allowed to, freely associate with other people, they can express themselves freely, but they cannot just go to some random people on the street and punch them in the face. They don't have the right to, I don't know, blow up other people's cars or burn down their houses. But we don't say that we don't live in a free society because I am not allowed to kill other people or hurt other people in general. That is not against a free society. That's not against freedom. It's not permissive, so I'm not permitted to do all those things. But those things are permitted because those are basically trampling on other people's freedoms. So in general, the society is more free if people are not permitted to trample on other people's freedoms. And I think that in general, proprietary licensing of a software, especially to private individuals, is immoral or at least ethically questionable. So the GPL license, by enforcing the same free software licensing for any kind of derivative product that comes from GPL licensed code, that basically enforces the freedom, enforces us to keep the stuff free for people downstream. So I think that's in general better for freedom than a permissive license, which allows the derivatives to be published under licenses that are restricting the freedom of their users. And so why do I consider the proprietary software immoral? And so this comes from Richard Stallman, basically, that he thinks, and I kind of agree with him on this particular topic, is that basically a computer is a machine that can follow many different kind of instructions, and when you get a proprietary code on this computer, it will make your computer do things that you cannot really check what exactly it is doing. So I would make this analogy like with a cookbook. So if you get like free and open source software, then it's like you just get a regular cookbook that will tell you how to cook certain meals. And if you want to make a pancake, for example, you can just look up the ingredients, you can look up what steps you should be following to make a pancake. But if you find that pancake not really to your liking, you can fiddle with the recipe, modify what kind of ingredients and what kind of ratios of the ingredients you are using, what is your exact procedure for making the pancake, etc. But if you would get like a proprietary kind of cookbook, how I would imagine is that you have like a kitchen, like, you know, like computers are quite standardized, so that's why many different computers can run the same binary code and basically give the same results. So maybe people would get like this kitchen, which is like every people have the same exact kitchen, and you get the cookbook, and maybe it's like an audio book, so you have to listen to it, but you get a blindfold on your eyes, so you don't really see what you're doing, and the cookbook is telling you like, pick up this bowl like on your left and move it 20 centimeters to your right, and then open the cupboard and get like from the second shelf the third box and pour and like tilt your hand like 30 degrees and let the ingredient pour into the bowl for like 10 seconds. So for example, so it gives you the instructions in a way that you have really no idea what you are cooking and how you are cooking it. And what makes it even worse when it comes to software and your computer is that your computer basically stores a lot of data, and you have maybe your personal pictures, you have a lot of personal documents on it, and of course you are browsing the internet with it, so maybe it has like your accounts and stuff like that. So it has access to a lot of things. So if you get like this proprietary cookbook, it may make you some meals with some questionable ingredients and questionable questionable dietary value, but this cookbook cannot really spy on you in any way, shape or form, while proprietary software don't really have anything in its way to do that, because all your data is already on your computer and you don't really know what the software is doing. So, you know, if you had in your cookbook I don't know, there was an instruction that get your family photo album, take out 3 photos and mail it to a certain address, and it was in your like regular cookbook, you would be like very weirded out, like what the hell, and you wouldn't do it, but maybe, if it's in your proprietary cookbook and it just makes you to walk to like your bookshelf, and it makes you take off your photo album, and you don't know really what you're doing, and you are like exposing your personal information without your knowledge. So that's how I would look at it, and that's why I would consider proprietary software immoral, or at least ethically questionable. And of course it comes like, what are the goals of developing proprietary software and what are the goals of developing free software. So if we would like to think that in case of free software you want to make a program that is really good and makes the work of the user very convenient, so the user will really like this program and will maybe contribute back and will donate some money to the project, or maybe purchase a license for, or like not a license, but will purchase kind of a support contract or something like that. So when they have a problem, they can just call you and you will help solve their problem. So this is your source of income. But when it comes to proprietary software, their source of income is selling licenses. So probably they are not really focusing on making the program at the best to fit whatever the users need. Their goal is to maximize their profit, to maximize their license. So the way they can maximize that is like vendor lock-in. So once you purchase the software, you will have to purchase all the updates if you want to keep it using, or it will just pester you to purchase other licenses for maybe other software from the same developer company, and will use every dirty trick in the book to try to get money out of you, because, well, they have the power because you kind of signed the license agreement with them to let them do stuff on your computer, and you never have a chance to take a look what exactly they are doing. So they will try to do everything in their power to, force you, in a way, filling their pockets. And so one of the things that usually comes up when we discuss free software and proprietary software is personal use case and business case. So a lot of people say that, well, it's not really easy to use free software if you need to like work for a company or something. But I would always say that it comes to making a difference between your personal computer that you should use for your personal stuff and your business computer that should be provided by the business who you are working for. So if you are an employee, that computer should be bought by your employer, and that computer should have all the software your employer wants you to work with. And once you finish your work, you should turn off that computer and put it in a drawer and not use it for any other things. That is a tool for your job and not your personal belonging that you are using for your personal things. I think that's kind of a strict distinction that we should make. So it's easy for me because in the office, I go to an office where I work and there is a computer there. It has Windows and Microsoft Office because that's what my employer wanted me to use. So they installed all those things there and I use that for my job. But when I come home, I use free software on my own computer. And when you have your own business, maybe it's a little more tricky to draw these lines, but I think if you have your own business, you might want to try to move to as many free software alternatives as possible, but maybe due to the business interactions you have to use proprietary software because vendor lock-in, as I was just talking about. So of course that's another trick in their sleeves, that they use formats that are, even the formats themselves are proprietary. So if you want to make a business with someone using their software, you also have to buy a license to that software. So how is this ethical? I don't think it is. Anyways, so if it's your own business, it's your decision, but just keep in mind to keep things separate, I think. So I would accept more proprietary software in a business environment, basically because it's like you have a machine in your factory and well, you need to produce a product, but you don't really know how to set up that machine to produce the exact product you want, so you just contract someone to do that for you, and you don't even look at what exactly your machinery is doing. So it's the same when you purchase a proprietary license on your computer. You just give a subcontractor access to your computer, and in turn they deliver you something, and you just don't care what exactly they are doing, and you just hope that they as a business partner don't steal stuff from you while they are using your machines. And so I think this is like, I kind of covered this employers, educational institution decisions. So now educational institutions is even like a bigger issue, because now people are forced by circumstance to do e-learning and like all these things, and a lot of schools, of course, they don't buy computers for their students, so you are in that case forced kind of to use proprietary software on your personal computer, which I think is very unethical from the institution's side of things, but they don't know better, because the proprietary software companies vendor lock-in. So they just send some business representatives to the schools, they send some kind of license to the school, and the school just purchases the license, and they just force their students to use the proprietary software on their own computers. I don't see how it's ethical. I don't think it is. Okay, and what about the third point, my client's computers that I maintain? So it came up that if you have like an IT company and maybe you are maintaining servers for other companies, well, should you try to force everyone to use free software? And I think no. It's not even like, in that case, it's not really even an ethical question on your part, because if a company wants you to install on their servers many proprietary stuff, it's their servers, they pay you to do it for them. The unethical part is committed against them. So I mean, if you want unethical things committed against you and you are willing to pay for it, then well, I don't see any problem with that. So it is kind of the situation when there are many unethical business practices. So there are, I don't know, like maybe shoe factories that use child labor, and we kind of can agree on that using child labor is not really ethical. But you know, you need to buy shoes, and maybe the shoes that are not made by child labor are just prohibitively expensive, and you cannot really walk around bare feet. And anyways, the act, or the immoral act of employing children was not done by you, it's done by the company, and it's not done against you, it's done against some children that you don't know about. So it's kind of easy to, you know, just ignore the immorality in the supply chain. But when it comes to the proprietary software, you actually pay someone else to do immoral things to you yourself. So I mean, if there is a company that pays someone to install proprietary software on their servers, it's basically they want immoral things to be committed against them, and they pay you for it. So you are not committing immoral things against unwilling people. So I don't think there is any problem. There is not even the slightest problem with installing proprietary software for someone else who asks for it. Of course, if you are like an ethical business person, you might want to talk about these issues. Maybe you will bring up some free software alternatives and things like that, but that's totally up to you and your business partners. Okay, so I managed to talk almost 20 minutes about my philosophy on free software, so let's get back to the subscriber thing. So 500 subscribers, more than 500 actually. So I would like to thank everyone who have already joined me on these platforms. Well, if I can add up these two numbers, then it comes to 591 at this moment. So it's a lot of people. I would guess that there are a few people who are both on Library and on YouTube. So thank you for all for joining me on this journey. And well, it's an honor to be able to share my thoughts with such a large audience. So when I had like my 100 subscriber special, then I already said that I've never really talked to this large audience before in my life, and it is even more true about the 500. And so I would like to grow this channel more. I think I have a few thoughts that might be interesting for more than 500 people. Maybe there are even at least 500 more over around the world on the internet who would be interested in this kind of free software stuff and Arch Linux and Linux stuff that I'm talking about. So if you find this channel interesting and useful, or at least thought-provoking, even if you don't agree with my points, I would like you to kind of force your peers, no, not force, just share this channel, share the videos with other people, share my Arch Linux deep dive videos with people who are more interested in the intricacies of how Linux works, but didn't really have the time or chance to dive into it previously. I think I am shedding a light on the Arch Linux installation process in a way that is just generally useful for people to think about when it comes to computers. Of course, if you don't like that series, I have other type of videos like this kind of rants sometimes. So if you want to provoke the thoughts of your peers, you can just share these rants with people who you think might be interested. And also, you can always try to make me think and, you know, just make me rethink how I think by leaving comments down below. So every video, when you have some contention, when you find something that you don't agree with me, you can just leave it down there in the comments. I will read them, and I might even answer them in writing, or maybe I will answer them in a like a separate video if I found your propositions interesting. I would like to reach 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Well, it's probably not going to be soon, because I mean, my initial projection for the 500 was maybe like February next year, but I got a big boost from DT, from Derek, from DistroTube, when I criticized one of his videos. He shared it with his subscribers, and I don't know how many subscribers he has, but about 180 came to me and subscribed to my channel. So I would like to thank Derek for sharing the link, and of course all of you who subscribed and came from him. Just leave a comment down below and tell me that you found me due to DT, and tell me if I'm wrong about anything. I like a good argument, and well, hopefully I will be able to keep growing this number to 1,000 sometime in the future by posting a more varied topics. I'm still using Arch Linux, and I will probably keep using Arch Linux, so there will be always Arch Linux related content as I explore some new aspects of this operating system that I haven't done yet. But there are many other things down the line. For example, the Open Suspect project, which you can find, for example, on my GitHub, or the official Open Suspect GitHub maybe is better. You should join the development if you are interested in contributing to an open source project. We just started 2 weeks ago. So anything you can do, from game design, just like general game design ideas, or art, or programming, or just social media presence, anything you can help us out, you can, and we welcome your contribution. And I think now this video have been going on for long enough, so goodbye to all of you, and maybe I will have to make like a new end overlay, because I'm not really a Linux noob. I'm like Linux noob category 2 or something. I'm doing this for more than a year, so I'm not that a big noob. I'm just like a small noob at this time. So, well, bye bye, I guess.